let's say you're creating your own universe. You said you don't think about actors. You're starting kind of something from scratch. How is that approach versus something where you have a pre-existing universe? Like if you're writing characters for Star Wars, you have this universe. You have characters that everybody knows, and then now you are doing something from scratch. Like, do you find your approach is different for that?
No, not at all. Because I don't I don't know. I don't really think in terms of universes, like or in terms of creating worlds or whatever. That's not that interesting to me. The only thing that's interested in me is story, and the story specific to, like, whether you're writing a Star Wars film or that's part of a 3-movie trilogy or quote unquote original thing like Knives Out. You're still telling a story that's new to the thing that you're doing, that it has to work within the context of that movie. So to me, the notion of what's the entire galaxy or world that you're creating or something, I can't imagine getting excited about creating that. To me, what I'm excited about is creating a 2-hour-long experience for an audience to have in the theater. And that means how they engage moment to moment with the story and the characters that are on the screen. And that doesn't change in either one of those,
Yeah, definitely. I guess to
Jean-Luc.
Rian Johnson digs a deeper hole than I think anyone could have possibly imagined getting themselves dug into. He does this every freaking day, whenever he talks about Star Wars, whenever he's trolling people on Twitter, whenever he's acting like an ass to anyone. This is what he keeps doing to himself. He just keeps digging this giant hole for himself. But you want to say shit to piss people off? That's fine. But if you keep doing it, people are going to start eventually calling you out on your bullshit. And I think this thing right here is just going to take the cake, because holy crap, this article and this interview is just indicative of Ryan's mindset when it came to making The Last Jedi. He just only wants to tell a story, and it's just a story he wants to tell, and universes be damned. You want to know why The Last Jedi was so bad, dear viewer? It's because of Ryan's mindsets. This is why he hates Star Wars. This is why people think he hates Star Wars. Or at least, this is why The Last Jedi was so bad in the context of the Star Wars universe and as its own original film. Because it was only focused on telling a singular story with basically no logic. That's essentially what he tried to do. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he did. So, here's this article from Bounding into Comics, and I hopefully will have the clip from the Hollywood Reporter at the beginning of the video. But Star Wars The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson admits he didn't care about Star Wars canon and history. Yes. What the hell, Ryan? Like, seriously. If you're going to make a Star Wars movie, don't you think you would need to make a conscious effort to make sure it all fits within the same universe? Granted, there was at least one thing during production that he thought could fuck with some things, and he asked the story writing team about if it would fuck with the canon, and that was the stupid hyperspace ramming. That thing, that thing that that fucked up the universe's hyperspace stuff, this fucked up space battles to a degree that can never be fixed. Yeah, that thing. Star Wars The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson admits he really didn't care about Star Wars canon in a recent interview discussing Johnson's Knives Out film. Johnson was asked by The Hollywood Reporter's Natalie Hetzel, whenever you were writing, let's say you're creating your own universe, you said you don't think about actors, you're starting something from scratch. How is that approach versus something where you have a pre-existing universe? If you're writing characters for Star Wars, you have this universe, you have characters that everybody knows, and then now you were doing something from scratch. Do you find your approach is different for that? And if you're making something new versus making something that is pre-established, you need to make sure that your writing is airtight no matter what, but especially if you're in a pre-existing universe, and if you're writing films, and this is a big thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it always has different levels of writing quality. You'll have an Iron Man, but then you'll have an Iron Man 3 in the same batch, and it's made by different people. You have to make sure your writing is consistent, otherwise people are really going to hate it. That's one of the reasons why Iron Man 3 is one of the most hated Marvel films ever. It's because of what they did with the writing that was set up for Iron Man in Iron Man 1, 2, and in the Avengers movie, and then they made him a joke. Is essentially what happened. Thankfully, it got fixed in Civil War, from what I've been hearing, but yeah, they fucked up Iron Man's character. That's why people don't like it. When you're making stuff that already has writing for a character and you have stuff for them that's set up to be something that will be an interesting foil for them later, you need to make sure that's taken into account, and you make sure that's handled well. And that's why Shane Black is not really liked right now, especially after what he did with the fucking Predator movies. I mean, he fucked up freaking 30 years of canon. 30 years of freaking Predator lore by making them autism hunters. Yes. Johnson would respond, no, not at all, because I don't really think in terms of universes or in terms of creating worlds or whatever. That's not interesting to me. What the fuck do you mean that's not interesting to you? When you're setting a thing in a different universe, there's so many different things you're gonna have to. Like, I'll use Mass Effect as an example because, this was something that was created from scratch. You have so many different things you have to consider. What's transportation like in the future? How do people dress? What type of weapons do they use? What's the technology like? What are the aliens and races of this universe? How is humanity viewed? What is everything in this universe? That is what happens when you're trying to make a universe, is you're trying to set up things about the universe so that way you can tell a story from that. That is what universe and world building is for. No wonder Rian didn't do any world building in freaking TLJ. The only damn world building he did was nothing. He didn't do anything except with fucking Luke, and that was whole bullshit. Like, if he did that as its own film, like as its own single film divorced from Star Wars, maybe it could have worked if he just wasn't giving the sequel to The Force Awakens. But no, he was giving the sequel to The Force Awakens, and apparently he doesn't care about universe building. That's wonderful, Rian. Good job. Good job making yourself look like an absolute goddamn idiot. Jesus freaking Christ, man. This is just pitiful. He continued, the only thing that is interesting to me is story. And the story is specific to, like, whether you're writing a Star Wars film that's part of a 3-movie trilogy or a quote-unquote original thing like Lives Out, you're still telling a story that is new to the thing that you're doing and that it has to work within the context of that movie. When you're making a singular movie, that makes sense, because Knives Out is the only film not of its kind, but in the context of what the movie is and the writing, yes, it is the only one that's in there, so you're making stuff just for that. But when you're writing for something that has pre-established things, you have to respect it. If you don't respect it, it's not going to be good. But do you not do storytelling, Rian? Because he says, like, the only thing he cares about is story. Well, then don't you think that caring about the stuff that happened beforehand is a big part of storytelling? I mean, Jesus Christ, like, the Artemis Fowl trailer just came out, and people are like, dude, this is, like, such a massive slap in the face worthy of Percy Jackson levels of freaking rage because of how much it's slapping everything in the face from the actual Artemis Fowl canon. Because people like the Artemis Fowl books, and it doesn't look like, at least to a lot of people, that the Artemis Fowl books are being respected in any sort of way. Because the whole thing with Artemis Fowl is that he's supposed to be like an anti-hero. They're basically setting him up to be just a regular hero. They're not even really going to do much with him. Like, they're not going to really explore the moral shades of gray because it's a fucking Disney movie anyway. But yeah. Johnson added, so to me, the notion of what's the entire galaxy or world that you're creating or something, I can't imagine getting excited about creating that. Fuck you. Really? No. Now I'm going to use Avatar The Last Airbender as an example. Okay, the whole world of Avatar The Last Airbender is set in like an Asian-centric setting, where it has a lot of stuff borrowing from Asian iconography, but it has different ways that the world is portrayed, and it's all portrayed through bending. Like, you have the Earthbenders. They use Earthbending to basically do whatever they want to with, like, how they construct buildings, or how they transport equipment, or how they train with each other. Like, they are very tough. And that's why, like, most Earthbenders are portrayed as really tough, especially Toph, like, the greatest Earthbender of all time. is portrayed as like the toughest character out there. She fucking headbutts a boulder and it cracks into fucking rocks, and it's great. And then you have the air nomads. The air nomads, they're nomads. They're wise, noble. They are in tune to nature, and being an air nomad is like, there's a lot that comes with that. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that as an airbender. And there's also things done within their culture. They form friendships with bison because the airbenders learned airbending from the bisons, the flying bisons. And that's why they all the air nomads, once they get old enough, they are given their own little baby not rhino, their own baby, shit, my freaking throat hurts. They're given their own baby little bison, and they form a bond that lasts for life. Then you have firebenders. Firebenders are, the fire comes from the breath. They always set them up to be pretty muscular, but the whole thing with fire is that it is a equal element for everyone. It all depends on how much willpower you have to use it. And so firebenders train a lot to try to make sure they have everything down and that to harness their willpower. And then with water is a natural element that is very in tune to the waterbenders, considering the waterbenders live on the North and South poles. Their entire life is through water. Their architecture is made out of ice. They use water to do basic everyday tasks. They can even heal people with the water. Like, there's a lot of things about it, and that's one of the things that makes the Avatar universe so exciting, is because there's so much that you can do with what's in there. And you're just like, no, that's not very exciting to me. Fuck off, dude. To me, what I'm excited about is creating a 2-hour-long experience for an audience to have in the theater. And that means that how do they engage moment to moment within the story and the characters that are on screen, and that doesn't change in either one of those. It kind of does, because when you're making a sequel to something and people expect it to be good, and then you make a steaming pile of horse shit, people are going to rightfully get pissed. They'll be like, oh, what the fuck is this? Why have you fucked up the story? I really liked where it was going. Granted, The Force Awakens wasn't a good movie anyway, but I mean, still, there was stuff that you could go on to make the sequel trilogy worth the damn, but they fucked it up. People who liked the OT and the prequel trilogy were like, look, we wanted The Last Jedi to be good. It wasn't good. You fucked it up. Good job, asshole. The answer is not really shocking, given the product we saw in The Last Jedi. The movie threw away and completely ignored characterizations and story moments from The Force Awakens. The opening scene of the film was probably the best example. General Hux is turned to complete and utter buffoon as he gets prank called by Poe Dameron. And I think the rest of the article is going through like all the bullshit that Rian did with the story, which we can just do on our own. How far are we in? 11 minutes, okay. I mean, yeah, Rian fucked up a lot of things. He fucked up Luke Skywalker's character. He fucked up the world building. Of course, that was just continued on from JJ fucking up the world building. He didn't do anything with Leia, really. He fucked up the consistency of the characters from The Force Awakens. Everything became stupider. And, there's just so much wrong. There's just so much wrong with the fucking movie. The action's bland. It relies so much on plot convenience that it makes your head want to snap. It keeps on going back and forth between things that don't really matter. You have pointless subplots, which is a first for a Star Wars movie, because even in Attack of the Clones, the subplot wasn't pointless. There's a lot of this film that you could just cut out and the film would have been a little bit better for it. And it's just, yeah. Rian, you really screwed up. This is not how you get an audience to take you seriously, by saying that I do not care about your universe. If I come in, I'm going to tell the story that I want to tell. Your feelings be damned. That is very disrespectful. Once again, like I said in my last video, humans revere storytelling. Humans love telling stories. You have so many stories about singular subjects in history, or about things, or we even make our own things up. We have our own mythologies. We love to tell stories. We really do. Storytelling is like a pastime of humans all the time. From cave paintings to big giant novellas, we have always told stories. We will always tell stories. As long as the human race is around, we will always continue to tell stories. And we can tell them in so many different ways. We can talk about so many different experiences, or we can talk about things of the human condition. We can talk about so many things. Rian doesn't care about that. You know why he doesn't care about that? Because Knives Out is basically just a response to people who didn't like his movie. Because he has fucking characters freaking parroting people he hates on Twitter that don't like his movie. That's the only reason he had that movie made. Or at least, that's the only reason he ever wrote the damn thing. Because he was trying to make people come off as assholes. He was trying to make everything about him. And that's the problem. When you're writing a story that you're just singularly creating, you can make it about whatever the fuck you want. But when you're making something that has 40 years of history behind it and you fuck it up just because you want to do your own thing and that it's all about you, you really don't deserve to be writing stories. You don't deserve to be writing stuff that other people have created for you. Alright? Go back to making your own damn movies, but don't make movies that are established in the context of something else, please. And it just freaking blows my mind. And this is also a big thing, because the thing with Jason Ward, this is everything that Rian has created. Like everything that's gone on with Star Wars right now, from the Rise of Skywalker being a gigantic fuck up, to Colin Trevorrow being kicked out of the Episode 9 set and quitting Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy acting more and more like a divisive a-hole, shit just going down at Lucasfilm and Disney in general when it comes to Star Wars and other Lucasfilm properties. It's all stemming, almost all of it is stemming right now from Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi. Because everybody was guzzling at his fucking ballsack. Everybody wanted his semen. They all wanted to guzzle down on it. Because he was the best one there ever was. He's the best person who ever created Star Wars movies. Is the fucking parroted line from everyone, even though he made what is quite possibly the biggest pile of shit in history. There are fucking B movies with lower production values that are better than The Last Jedi. I'm not joking you. And that's funny considering he used to be one of those people who created low budget B movies. And it pisses me off that people give him such praise, because right after he started, right after Rian started, being dickheads to everybody who didn't like his movie, and calling them sexist and racist, and all that type of shit he does on Twitter and other interviews, everybody started copying him. Everybody who liked TLJ just started copying him. You have fucking Quentin, freaking Movie Bob, Sean, I think to a degree. It was bullshit. Everybody just started freaking guzzling on this man's balls because, he wrote something different. That's the only good thing. That's the only thing we have to pay attention to. It's like, no. You don't realize how much you ripped from established Star Wars canon and then fucked it up immediately. Because he ripped entire plot lines from the entire original trilogy, took some aspects from the prequel trilogy and sprinkled it in there to make it look like he was doing something different. But then he ended it just like the OT film that people were comparing it to. And he also fucked up major plot beats from those films and did nothing to really distinguish it from anything else. He just made the entire original trilogy, but worse, into one single movie. That is exactly what he fucking did. That's what Rian did. Rian disrespected over 40 years of established canon because he could not be damned to fucking understand it. Or at least he couldn't be damned to try to make something that made sense. He didn't want to do that. He just wanted to make something that catered to his own wants and needs and not the needs of Star Wars. Okay, because people were always craving for a good Star Wars movie. People were always craving for a good Star Wars movie, and you fucked it up. Right, the results are laid bare. Solo bombed immediately after TLJ. The Rise of Skywalker barely got over $1 billion, barely scraping by. The Mandalorian is a divisive TV show, and Kathleen Kennedy's still staying on for quite a little bit. And if Rian Johnson is still going to be making his own trilogy, people are just going to keep going away. You keep alienating the fucking fan base. You keep alienating everyone who loves Star Wars because you make it all about politics, you make it about race, you make it about gender, you make it about things that are antithetical to Star Wars. Right, you're bringing current political topics into a galaxy far, far away that has transcended all of those things. Transcended all of it. That's the same problem with fucking Star Trek right now because they're going through all that same type of bullshit with Picard and with Discovery. They're making it all about bullshit that doesn't fucking matter in the context of those stories. Because those stories, they told stories that mirrored stuff that happened in the present day. But they were always like, look, we always took the neutral stance. We were never going to take one side over the other. We tried to tell our own story, and we, wanted to, present this hopeful, optimistic view of the future. But then Picard is like, you have a bunch of freaking racist crap from it. People don't like the Romulans, so they're treating humans treated them like black people for some reason. Androids are freaking screwing around everywhere. You got a Romulans only fucking sign in episode 4. You got a random black lady living in poverty, even though poverty is supposed to not be a thing anymore. It's bullshit. In closing, I'm tired of these fucking people. They ruin everything. SJWs, to quote Wolf, have no talent. Rian Johnson may have good directing talent, because there's stuff I've seen from Knives Out that indicates he could be just a good director if you just gave him a directing role. But do not let him write. He cannot write worth a damn if The Last Jedi is any indication. And if you are ever going to have him create something within the context of another series, like, say they make another Star Trek film, and you may let him write a Star Trek movie, you know what he's going to fucking do. He's going to fuck everything up even worse than Discovery, even worse than Picard. He's going to fuck it all in the ass. Hell, I wouldn't even doubt they'd let him write for Picard. Because, he's so in line with the politics of the people who are making it right now. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't die. I'll see you later.